for this lovely gathering here. I would like to invite my fellow panelists, as I call them out, Basil Al-Askari. Basil? Basil? Fazal? Fazal Alexander? Talal? Fazal, Fazal. Fazal? Fazal? Come, come. Talal is here. Jitu? Yeah, Faraj. Oh, Faraz, huh? You are on this, right? Oh, okay. I thought you were Fazal. Sorry about that. No. Jocelyn? Mehtab? Nicole? Samir? Liu? Liu? There she is. There. And Michael? Oh, you got to sit in the middle there. Let me come over. I'll come down here. Take it out. Wow, this is a full panel, man. Thank you all. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules. I know some of you have to run, and some of them have to attend some of the meetings, very important ones. So I'll start with Basil first. If you can introduce mid-chains and explain some more about us.
Hi everybody. This is Basil Askari, co-founder and CEO of MidChains. Thank you for the nice introduction. So we run a regulated crypto custody and exchange business that was founded in Abu Dhabi in 2018, and now we're quite present across the UAE. Thank you very much.
Alex?
Hey Dubai, how are you doing, guys? Woo! Thank you for coming. My name is Alex Fazel. I'm the Chief Partnership Officer at Swissborg. We're a community-driven ecosystem. We're not an exchange per se. So as if an exchange was an airline, we're more like an aggregator like Skyscanner, where we connect to exchanges and work with them to find you the best price and best yields at the tap of your fingers.
Jocelyn?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jocelyn from Huobi Global. I would like to invite everybody to pronounce the name of our exchange, which is at the left corner, Huobi. It means fire coin in China. For those who are not familiar with us, we are actually one of the OG exchange that was established in 2013. Now one of the top 5 global exchange in the world. Thank you very much.
Talal?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Talal Tabba. This feels like the Exchange Royal Rumble with all our friends and partners sitting here. CoinMina, we're regulated by the Central Bank of Bahrain and also now part of VAR as MVP. Our differentiating factor is you can actually deposit and withdraw money in your local currency across the GCC. So pleasure to be here and nice to meet you.
Thank you. Jitu?
Hello, everyone. I'm co-founder and CEO of digital financial exchange DIFX. We are based in Europe and Cayman Islands. We have a team of more than 200 people sitting in Dubai as a tech operations. We are a cross-asset exchange regulated in more than 7 jurisdictions, different parts of the world. We allow users to trade cryptocurrencies, and along with their crypto assets, they can do traditional assets. Apart from that, we do managed services for family offices across Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia. We manage more than $500 million asset under management with Fireblock as a custodian. Thank you.
Michael?
Hey guys, normally when you say you have free pizza, you get all the attention. So I guess we have a lot of free food. So my name is Michael. I'm the founder and CEO of Clico. We are a regulated crypto service provider. We are the Shopify for the crypto asset space. Thank you.
Mehtab?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Mehtab, and I am the Managing Director of GCX in Dubai. We will be operating as a crypto exchange in Dubai. As a group, we are regulated in the UK with a full scope investment license. We also regulated in Denmark with the passporting right to Europe as a crypto exchange. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hi everyone, my name's Shan. I'm from XT and head of the XT incubator. So XT is the first social infused exchange whereby we operate in 13 different markets, employ about 600 employees. We have a full ecosystem of XT Academy, XT Ventures, and NFT Marketplace. We also recently set up our asset management group. So as a group, we operate in 13 different markets, and we are now in the regulatory process of getting VARA license. Thank you, everyone.
Samir.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samir. I'm from a company called Oasis. Oasis is a regional virtual asset service provider platform born in Dubai in 2015, 2016. We operate across the region. We are venture-backed, recently raised $35 to $40 million in venture capital and approved to operate to the retail market by the Dubai Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. So it's great to be here.
Nicole.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry, a little bit of a technological glitch here. My name is Nicole Purin. I'm the Deputy General Counsel of OKX, one of the largest crypto exchanges. We are, based here in Dubai, and really delighted to be here. I think we are very committed to the region, and really looking forward to being part of this panel and interacting with my fellow colleagues to really make the UAE digital asset infrastructure more and more robust globally. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you all. If I can start with Basil. What is the reason for setting up in Abu Dhabi and Middle East for you?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious by the way I'm dressed, but I would say that the reason we chose Abu Dhabi in 2018 is because we took a compliance-first approach. And in that particular year, there were no other regional licenses available. Also, being from Abu Dhabi, I had a little bit of bias, but also for my investors. My investors include the likes of BUIDLers and ADQ. If you've not heard of them, it's worth looking them up. They're some of the largest sovereign wealth funds on the planet.
Alex?
So if we had this as a Disney or Pixar storyboard, I would have four main characters. The first characters are the masterminds, which would be the authorities. The second character would be the trailblazers. So we have Oasis, for instance, or the people who really started the story, the early adopters. Then we have what we call the crypto influencers, which is probably the third character. And the fourth, we have the trendsetters. So these four characters can make a beautiful Disney movie here in the UAE. And the way I see it is, since 1969, the authorities already had a great framework. I think what's very different from me, who's lived in the West, and those are my biases, by the way, so I apologize if they're not accurate, is that a lot of countries are really focused on politics, but not enough on business. They don't really understand business well enough. And everybody has known that there have been tax-friendly laws, whether corporate tax. This has been here for a while, right? But what really triggered Dubai specifically to be such a hub as of today? And I think the masterminds, they understood it. We cannot just focus on politics. We really need to create a friendly business-friendly environment for everybody. 2019, when we had, there's one sentence I'd love for you guys to complete. The biggest risk is not to
take risks.
The biggest risk is not to take risks. And I think that's the morale of the story. Because when everything shut down around the world, Dubai took risk, calculated risk in the UAE to have people to come visit and started making them realize that, this is not just about taxes and business. I like this place. It's easy to live, it's safe. And it really brought in a lot of important people that started this mass adoption or this effect, right? But going back to the OGs, I really think that, people like Oasis really set the beginning of the story. And then after that, the influencers and all these crypto people realized, listen, this is, I see myself living here. Back home in London, you know, I could see people injecting heroin on the streets just 3 months ago. Like, we know Europe is on a downfall and it's getting worse and worse. Here we're safe. And then these influencers, what they did is they sold the dream with their videos, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where people started realizing, I want to go there too. And then you have the trendsetters like the Hobies and the Binances, which once they come, that's the final stamp of validation. And look around us, guys. I came here 2 years ago. Most of the projects were quite weak. Some were slightly dodgy. But look around us now. It's a very legitimate ecosystem. And I'm grateful to be here. And I got my visa, guys. Woo, 3 years. Woo.
Thank you. Let me ask Samir, since he was alluding to BitOasis being one of the pioneers in this space. So what made you set up here in UAE?
So I think I'm not a founder of the business, but our CEO and co-founder, Olaf, you know, her story is that she got into the Bitcoin ecosystem in 2015-16 from Jordan, and the thinking was that Dubai would be the type of place to start a business like this up. Now, this was in 2015-16, so ADGM wasn't regulating. Obviously, VARA only came into effect in 2022. Bahrain was regulating in 2018. So I think what BitOasis did was it launched and formed a business prior to regulation, but did so by working with the UAE government, be that on the central bank in terms of registration, be it on AML, CFT, with other UAE federal entities. So I think from our perspective, you know, what we've done today, aside from what you have, you know, in VARA or the ADGM, is build up some regulatory infrastructure that others are now building now, and obviously have built up our reputation as a solid player in the market over those 5 to 6 years.
Thank you. Thank you. Taking from there, if I can ask Jocelyn, what do you think about the regulatory infrastructure being set up here, coming from Asia and having experienced Hong Kong, Singapore, China?
Well, I think the answer is definitely very positive because a lot of people might not know the history of Huobi, but we used to be one of the biggest exchange in the world when 50% of the Bitcoin was traded in our platform, you know, before 2017. But after the law was passed, which restricted all of our product services offered in China, we lost, I think, more than 50% of our business. So the law, you know, in Singapore, when we talk about Dubai, we like to benchmark Singapore. And the regulations in Asia side has always been quite ambiguous, you know. And also the regulator in other countries is mostly from traditional finance, in Singapore, MAS. But Dubai being a pioneer among all the cities or all the countries, setting up an authority that's only for virtual assets, you know, kind of throw the commitment to the Web3 space, that they are very committed to develop the industry. So that gave us a lot of assurance and confidence for international companies like us to invest and grow here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Talal, you have been into fintech space and in the exchange space for quite some time, also in Bahrain and here in VARA. So what do you think about the regulatory infrastructure developing here, and how can it help exchanges like ours, all of us, in that space?
Yeah, sure. So I don't mind being a little bit honest. I think global exchanges that have mass audience across the world aren't necessarily the best exchanges to ask about compliance. If you're familiar with the meme where the security guard is barely checking, the reality is crypto grew heavily in the years of 2014 to 2018 with minimal KYC. Now that governments have started to acknowledge how big the industry is, it's very refreshing to see a regulator like VARA come into the picture. Because at CoinMina, we're proud to be regulated under the Central Bank of Bahrain. And they've really improved their capabilities when it comes to virtual assets. But the reality is, I think you can't regulate crypto the same way you regulate securities, commodities. They have to be treated as a new asset class. So yeah, but this is not something new to Dubai. Like if you thought of the Palm project when it first started, everyone doubted that it would become a reality. Same for Burj Khalifa, same for many iconic Dubai projects. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer that VARA will become the premier regulator for crypto, not only for the region, but globally. And it's a great stamp of approval to have all the, let's say, global players come to town. So exciting stuff.
Thanks. Jitu, coming from Cayman Island and having been in the various parts of the world, how do you see the regulatory infrastructure and the growth of it so far? So many exchanges here.
I think, Goran, if you see the history of the whole revolution on the regulations, starting from Switzerland back in 2013, going on to Estonia and now coming to Dubai, I have seen it's a journey of 6 years for me, looking at the transformation of digital assets. The largest of the largest companies which went and became billion-dollar unicorns that were in the regulated entities only, maximum of the companies. And looking at the overall structure what Dubai has, even before VARA coming, there were few free zones which came out with a certain small crypto regulations, and we have seen 1,400 companies already getting registered. With VARA coming out with an MVP license, and we have seen the regulations, what the transformation will happen with Dubai and across UAE region. And with the mass adoption coming in, if we have seen the records of last year crypto adoption of only Middle East, we saw 48% jump, and this year we have seen $566 billion worth of crypto assets being traded only by the Middle Eastern users, wherein as of now UAE is at 12%. And with the regulations coming in with VARA, ADGM and different free zones, which will be governed by the central bank and security exchange simultaneously, I feel this is the market where we will see the maximum inroad coming in. And I think in coming 5 years, UAE will become the blockchain capital of the world with the regulations going on. Thank you.
Ameen. Michael, you come from a fintech space and also the payment space, having been in the Asia. How do you see the banking infrastructure shaping up here to support the industry, and what more can it do?
Before I answer that question, I kind of echo what Alex said earlier, right? The biggest risk is not taking risk, right? So no doubt, like all the smart people here sitting on the table downstairs, we know this is the region to go, right? But start from not taking risk to taking risk. There's another interesting thing we need to figure out. How much risk are we taking? And this is actually very relevant. Where I am saying right now is very binary. There's a two type of player. One is the regulator, one is the investor. What we are saying right now is the investor taking too much risk. In crypto, there's a thing called to the moon, right? 100x. Dude, right? Seriously, where the LIBOR rate is less than 0.25, you're talking about 100 times, right? That's not right, right? So investors, customers take less risk. While on the other side, we have regulators where they are supporting, accommodating, but they need to take more risk. Not like going all in, but think about how do we come up accommodating framework, understanding the market player. So together we can meet in the middle, and then we can see this market prosper and survive. So, yeah.
Thank you. Mehtab, coming from a compliance background and also looking at on-ramp, off-ramp banking infrastructure,
Yes.
how do you see this shaping up, and what do you think more needs to be done in this space, banking side and the regulatory support-wise?
Well, especially in our industry, I think it's very, very difficult to do business with no bank account, right? So in our situation, I think it has been very, very positive from our side to see that the regulators or the authorities has actually been reaching out to us and said, how can we help you? And in this case, with a bank account. So we have been approached by VARA and saying, we know you need a bank account. We therefore recommend these two banks that are willing to support your business. And I think that's very rare. I would like to give an example. I just came home from a trip in Turkey. And as some of you know, I mean, Turkey is one of the biggest crypto markets in the world. And while I was visiting my clients, and they had these huge offices with, there was furniture with tables, chairs, laptops, everything ready to actually start operating, providing virtual assets. But they're just waiting for the regulators. The laws have been drafted, the rules are there, but they are not being published. So we're seeing a lot of companies, especially in Turkey, sitting there and just waiting without knowing what's happening from the authority side. I just want to, again, echo what Alex said. I absolutely agree. I think the government and the authorities here, they definitely have a business mindset. They're willing to do business. They're willing to listen to you and to look at best practices in the industry. And then, based on that, create a regulatory framework while having the consumers, protecting the consumers at the end of the day. So I think it's amazing, and we are very, very privileged to be a part of this.
Thank you. Shan Liu, you are one of the HR practitioners and also the head of incubator for XE.com. How do you see this talent pool in the Middle East supporting this industry developing?
Well, primarily why we entered into Dubai market is for 4 reasons. Number one is the regulatory environment, friendliness of the regulatory environment. Then secondly is the adjacency to the different markets. So globally, if you look at Asia or Europe, overall it's within about 5 hours time gap. So that really allows us to connect to the global offices because we have 13 different global presences. And then thirdly is, of course, the infrastructure support. So if you look at from the top of the value chain to the bottom of the value chain, you have VC and incubations such as CVVC and Crypto Oasis. You also have so many projects. I heard, for instance, in June, in July, in 1 week, there are 250 projects registered in Dubai about NFT vertical. And then fourthly is the diversity of global talents. That's nowhere comparable. So that's what I see as the great advantage of Dubai. And with that advantage, we set our offices here, and also the other crypto exchanges, the crypto projects entered into the space. But I think other than providing this openness to welcoming the projects, the downside risks is this low entry barrier also welcomes maybe dodgy projects, non-qualified projects, non-qualified players. So this is where it calls for the action for regulatory to regulate and to neutralize some of the risks, especially in light of the 3AC collapse, in light of the Terra collapse. We see systematic risks due to the highly leveraged players and the correlated upstream and downstream players. So I think there's a need for not only the Dubai regulatory, but in the other regions to regulate in the retail market, the retail investment side. So when we talk about the openness of regulatory environment in Dubai versus that in Singapore or in China, we need to segment into which verticals, which segments we're talking about. So in Singapore, it's actually very, very open to institutional enterprises, institutional clients, not so much about retail market. While you look at Turkey or Dubai, especially in Dubai, so in UAE, the government has been quite open towards the retail market. But this created a lot of risks, risk exposure for us as investors, because there's anxiety among retail investors to lose in trading in this market. And this creates a negative reinforcing loop where when you see project launch, there's only 3 months or less than 6 months of life cycle, because you see the basically on the retail investor side, their adoption curve quickly climbed and collapsed. So we don't want to see that type of risks as an investor. And we hope that the regulatory can step in to neutralize part of the risks. However, on the encouraging of the project creation and adoption side, we want to see more openness. For instance, in the KYC process, how can you build a consistent and simplified and shortened KYC process? And as simple things as creating a bank account for companies coming into Dubai region, how can we lower the cost and lower the entry barriers? So in the different segments, in institutional space and in retail space, I think different measurements should be taken.
Thank you, thank you. Samir, coming from Kareem and having been in this region, how do you see the human resources challenges for this industry? Is it benefiting from the boom in the fintech space, or is there a migration of talent happening here? How is the government helping? What are your views?
Yeah, so my views broadly are, right, is what's driving regulatory movement across the region is competition between countries and competition between regulators, right? And what Dubai has done super smartly, right, is they've gone out, they've invited the world, and they've said, we'll build a framework around what you're doing. So it's counterintuitive to what we've seen in other jurisdictions in the region. But what it's done is it's brought in companies into the ecosystem more rapidly than has happened in Bahrain, more rapidly than has happened in the ADGM, right? And to a certain extent, we don't know yet how that's going to play out. But if you look at, you know, this global crypto hub question, whether you're in Miami, you're in Dubai, you're in Singapore, you're in Abu Dhabi, or in Bahrain, what you've seen here and across the region is an acceleration, right? And the way that acceleration has happened is Dubai has said, we're open for business. We're building a regulatory framework. That framework is not yet finalized. So there's a degree of risk there because you don't know what the outcome holds. But I think what has happened in terms of tech, in terms of fintech, is this has moved Dubai forward. The region is already moving forward quickly, but this has possibly accelerated that significantly over the last 6 to 12 months.
Nicole, you are coming from a banking background and also a legal background. So I was asking a question about the payment infrastructure and how banks are stepping up to this challenge vis-a-vis the regulatory infrastructure.
No, absolutely. Look, I think, well, first of all, I just wanted to highlight that it's been very interesting to be on this panel and listening to everybody's point of view. Everyone clearly has different backgrounds, different inputs, but I agree, with the outcome. I mean, really, UAE is doing an incredible job to become and emerge as really one of the top global destinations for the digital asset industry, and we are all really privileged to be here. So in terms of background, yes, I've spent the last 20 years in traditional finance, working at top financial institutions, both in London and in the Middle East, and clearly transitioning into the, working for a, OKX and digital asset exchange is, of course, an incredible experience and different. It's different, but ultimately, the way I see it is that there's going to be an integration between traditional finance and this sector, and that's why it's very important, clearly, to be able to work together, to have strong communication with regulators, explain exactly where the synergies are, where we can work together to also ensure that we are protecting the consumer, but without stifling innovation, because the key is to ensure that the innovative sector that is being promoted by this new revolution is not in any way curbed because of the fact that there might not be the same level of understanding. But this is happening, and I think that when you engage with the regulators, especially here on the ground, they're just so well informed, so business friendly. They want to help, but then at the same time without compromising their regulatory function. So I think we'll see a lot of things happening more and more here in Dubai, but I do believe that that this particular country is in a very good position to become the leader in this sector.
Thank you. And if I can ask a common question to all of you, starting with Basil, what is the long-term objective for Mid-Chains and Swissborg and others?
So long-term objective is to be really an institutional venue of choice. We've been focusing on the institutional market since we started, and we'll continue to do that as we grow as one of the homegrown local players. There's not that many of us in general, but I like that I see at least 3 of us up here on this panel.
So it's twofold for me. Can I ask you all a quick question? If you hear the word regulation, who has a negative connotation when you hear that? Please show me your hands. Who has a positive connotation when you hear regulatory? Show me your hands. So it's a very even crowd. It's like a 50-50, right? Now I want to share something that's really important. When Bitcoin was created, there was a super important phrase, and please fill in the gap, which was code is law. Code is law. That was a frame that people were thinking about because they were privacy activists. They were against the centralized entities. And that may apply for Bitcoin, but we know this year alone, in the first half in DeFi, this code lost $2 billion of assets. So is code really law? Not necessarily. You still need regulators, right? You cannot be anonymous. And one thing that was mentioned earlier that's really important is that the regulators are not here to punish you. They're here to protect you. You have to really understand this, and I'll share a story with you guys. We did an ICO in 2017. We raised $52 million, one of the biggest ICOs on the planet, and we survived. We're one of the 0.1% that survived since the ICO in 2017. But one lesson that I learned, on one of the last days, I was in Japan. I raised 20 million out of the 50 almost by myself by creating a team in Japan. On the last day, very close to the last day, the Japanese FINMA announced that ICOs were illegal. And we raised $20 million out of their country. So within a week, we set up a meeting with the FINMA. I came in with my lawyers, and I had to be completely open and transparent and say, listen, you just banned ICOs. We're raising roughly $20 million out of Japan. We would just love to get your guidance. And you know what they said? They said, listen, we're not here to punish you. We're here to protect them. So we want you to submit all your documentation, provide us with all your identity, the highest levels of KYC, so that we can track you and attack you if you actually try to be fraudulent with the users. So that's a really important lesson. Number 2, long-term objective. Guys, look at this panel here. If we were a football club, everyone would be punching each other in the face. This is literally like people are competing for market share. But look how elegantly they're sitting next to each other. I believe in love and not tribalism, and I think that's the long-term objective. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, it's very hard to catch after that. But I totally agree with you, Alex. Regulators are here to protect us. Exchange business is highly risky as fun and excited as it is. We, as a tier 1 exchange, we have a lot of market makers. We have a lot of prop traders trading on platforms. And the risk management team is, 24/7. Unlike stock market, exchange business is 24 hours. So for Huobi, one of our top business priority is risk management. After what we experienced a few years back in China, now we are servicing clients globally for more than 170 countries. So our risk management can be reflected in, for example, we have a robust reserve fund of 20,000 Bitcoins in our reserve to protect our clients' fund. So in Dubai, we also and actively approaching the regulator spectrum of the regulations to create a safe and environment to give our clients a good trading experience. So yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, so at CoinMina, we think that crypto is a better way to provide financial services. So unlike many of the other crypto exchanges that offer you the ability to 20x leverage a shitcoin, we actually care about our customers' future financial future. And the idea is to basically provide a better experience than banks. Today, banks allow you to send and receive money. They allow you to earn investment income and allow you to spend money. So I think many crypto exchanges will end up adjusting their approach to compete with retail banks. I guess on the institutional side, we've recently launched our OTC desk. So that's something that we're also pushing. But CoinMina's goal is to provide better financial services for the wider MENA region.
Thanks. Jitu?
I think 70% of the panelists over here are from the exchanges, be it institutional or be it retail. I think the crux of every exchange is give the power to the users that they feel secured when they are trading on the exchanges. And I completely agree with Alex that FINMA told us that we want to protect the users. If you go niche into, there are, I think, more than 5,000 exchanges, but there are hardly 500 which are listed. If you go deep into the exchanges which are semi-regulated, and if you check the regulations, they say that from the country where they have received the license, they don't allow the user to trade on that exchange. It's because they are not regulated fully. So it's our goal is simply that to protect the user in a regulated way. And I think giving the 100% power to the user in centralized manner, what the crux is all about to get that mass adoption. As she said that we will have massive inroad of traditional assets getting into tokenized form, wherein we see, and not only we, but the World Economic Forum and the World Bank says that it will be a $27 trillion economy, which will come in the tokenization form as a security token. And to cater that much inroad of volume, it is very important for any exchange to be idiot proof in terms of the interface and give the power to the user. And we have been doing that. One small takeoff, I think nomination program, what we ran for last 1 year, that's the mass audience we have received it. That's the transparency, I think, which each and every exchange should work on. Thank you.
Thanks. Michael?
Sorry, I forgot. What was the question again?
What's the long-term goal for...
Okay. So I think it's about time for market to actually take a pause, go back to where we start off. That is the value creation, right? You know, it's not relevant to the infrastructure part of the digital asset space. I was reading this very interesting article the other day. Two of the highest valuation metaverse company, one is Sandbox, another is Decentralized. They are all valued at over 1 billion, but their daily active user, I don't know how much, is amazingly there, right? So, I mean, then once we're done with the hype, people need to think about, right, why I do that, right? So this is why I said for exchange, you know, right now, the way how crypto exchange works is exactly like how Forex CFD platform works 20 years ago, right? And now look at what happened on CFD, on Forex market. There's no brand loyalty. People just hop around different exchange. And then people focus on user experience. How do I actually fine tune the product? I think this is where the exchange really need to focus, right? Can I build an exchange that everyone know how to use? My 8 years old kid know how to use, and then he can show his 8 years old students how to use it. So I think only when that happens, you know, there's value creation, then altogether the market can go from there instead of just 100 times.
Thanks. Mehtab?
Thank you. So I think unlike some of our other friends here, GCX, we only target professional institutional clients. So we don't touch the retail client at all. Having said that, when we decided to expand to the Middle East, we were really, you know, being cautious about where to get a license from. It's important for us, both from a reputational point of view, but also from a consumer protection point of view, that we have a proper license and that we can operate safely. So we look at the UAE, and with VARA being established, we were like, okay, this is a safe place to do business. So we do believe in the long term of UAE. We do believe that, you know, UAE will only grow from here, and we want to be a part of it. So yeah.
Thanks.
So as a social infused exchange, we've always spread the words among our employees and our stakeholders that we want to share success and we want to share the stories and the learnings within our stakeholders. I think as exchange, as part of this ecosystem, we bear two responsibilities. Number one is to join forces with the other stakeholders, such as the other exchanges, the projects, and also traditional finance institutions. Then also the regulators to facilitate a healthier environment, a healthier ecosystem that is protecting the end users. Then secondly, what we've seen in the past is the exchanges and the crypto projects, they have moved from heavily regulated regions to Dubai, for instance. But I personally foresee in the future, we will see more decentralized allocation for projects moving to other regions. And I think part of this will be us lobbying the government, and the crypto lawyers, the advisory firms, us advising the government, educating the regulatory bodies, not just passively and reactively waiting for the regulatory authorities to design the framework. So for that, we are also in active conversation with the crypto law firms, with VARA, for instance. I think we have a responsibility, both from the traditional finance sectors and from the crypto exchanges. We shall join forces to advise and to share the learnings that we observed from the market. How do we provide more liquidity? How do we lower the risks at the retail market? Which type of projects? What are the criteria for evaluating high quality projects? What are the mechanisms we set to protect the retail users? So these learnings are precious for the regulatory bodies to learn from it. And I think by building that, in the longer term, we shall see less and less volatility in the market trading in our exchanges. In a way, we create confidence and bring that confidence back to the market.
Samir.
Yeah, so two thoughts. We believe that increasingly over the next 20, 30 years, assets, physical assets are going to be tokenized and digitized, right? So the exchanges or platforms today are going to be the exchanges and platforms of a much larger financial world where a much wider range of digitized and tokened assets can be traded. Point one. I think point two is when we think about the region, I don't know who's seen this story of this lady in Lebanon who took a toy gun to hold up a bank so she could withdraw her savings to pay a doctor in Lebanon to extend medical cover to her sister. I think that's the use case that when we think about the region, what are we really looking to solve? And I think from a retail perspective, at BitOasis, we think about what are the use cases from our region, for our region, that a regional platform of ours should be looking to solve over the long term.
Thanks.
Thank you. I think I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So the point I wish to highlight is that we are here for the long term. Now, we are committed to the region and we want to help build the infrastructure. We want to provide feedback so that also the regulatory framework is developed in line with a balanced approach between innovation as well as consumer and institution protection. But definitely, very, very big fan of the UAE, of what is being done and what it continues to be done. So we're proud to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. If I can ask for a last word of advice to all the people visiting here in GITEX and all those interested in crypto assets, what would be your one-line advice? Each of you.
To keep it brief, although crypto is fun, blockchain's fun, and there's a great environment and community around it, it's still financial service. It's serious, and people should take it seriously.
Get involved, get your family involved, bring them to the events, get a job, advise, do anything you can possibly do to get involved with Web3 and change, help us accelerate mass adoption from Web 2 to Web 3, because that's the most important of all the Web 1s, 2s, and 3s.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
One last word of advice to all the visitors of GITEX and Future Blockchain Summit.
Okay. Okay, on another note, I believe as much as Corby has been here for a while, this is our very first time being in public presence. So if anybody want a discussion after panel, feel free to approach. Thanks.
Gorang, you left us with no choice. You just asked for one thing. So yeah, sign up on CoinMina.
I think I'll just say, check the history, go with the history of the adoption, what has happened in past 7 years of the crypto journey, what I had, each and every asset class. And if you compare that with cryptocurrency, even now it has outperformed each and every asset class. Educate yourself and choose the right exchange. Thank you.
I say don't ship the future. Future is too far away in crypto. Let's ship tomorrow altogether. Maybe ship tonight too.
Thank you. Well, I would say do yourself a big favor and educate yourself every day. This is a market that is growing very, very fast. You know, we are seeing new, participants every day, new terminologies coming up every day. You know, it might be very confusing to many of us. So please educate yourself and choose an exchange that is regulated in a recognized jurisdiction.
Well, I don't know who is in the audience group. So to institutional investors and to exchanges, the advice would be to respect the market principles, respect the financial principles, and back to basics. Then to potential retail investors or to those who are not yet an investor, it's still not too late to join the game, and keep calm and hold it.
Yeah, so my advice would be to choose your partners carefully, right? Be that an exchange, a platform, if you're a retail investor, if you're in the ecosystem, there's a lot of filtration that needs to happen, and working with partners that you can validate, have a track record, etc., is probably one of the most important things you could be doing.
Thanks.
And my advice, clearly echoing a lot of what the comments made by my esteemed panelists, is to educate yourself, learn about the risks, network and research. And indeed, this is a sector that is growing exponentially. There are risks involved, and I think it's very, very important to understand all of the changes and the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you all. Now, is there any questions from the audience or for anyone? Thank you. I will ask them to wait for some ceremony by the organizers. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you all the panelists. Wonderful.
Right? That's why I said, like, why we have to all talk.
very much. Thank you. It was wonderful.
Test. Test. I have to speak like this. Can you hear me? Okay, let me know. In case of.